So if you wanted to get into high school coaching but don't really know how to break in, I think I can help you.
We're not going to get a second chance in the game.
Welcome to the channel. My name's Nate. I've been a high school football coach now, coming up on season number 24, I think, maybe 25. I've been in it a long stinking time, and this season will be season number 15 as a head coach. But you'd like to get in, huh? How do you get into high school coaching? The reality is, every fall, our country really becomes obsessed with this game. It's a part of all of our cultures, whether it's down in lives almost. I mean, whether it's just you just play fantasy football, right? Even the ladies just play fantasy football, or you're a part of a high school and it's part of the high school program, or you got a kid that plays, or you coach youth ball, or you love college football and you tailgate every Saturday. It's a part of our lives. And let's face it, it's on TV every night. And it's tempting to want to get in. I mean, that's why I got in. I love football, and I wanted to coach. Now, I've coached a lot of things in my life, from youth softball, youth baseball, coached a lot of high school wrestling. But the reality is, most of your work in those jobs is the Monday through the Thursday, meaning it's practice, right? And by the time it comes to the competition, you don't have a lot of control. But football's different. It's equally as important in practice, but the game day, you have a bigger say in game day. And I think that's probably one of the things that makes it so fun. So you would like to get into high school coaching. How can you get in? Let's take to the slideshow. Short and sweet, but these are some things you're going to want to know if you want to get in. Number one way is get into education. I mean, obviously, if you can get into teaching, then you'd be a teacher. That's the fastest way to get into high school coaching if you're in education, right? So I'm about to get my first teaching job. I reach out to the staff, to the head football coach, and I say, hey, I just got a teaching job on staff. I want to help. Now, I'm going to say this for the first time, but it probably won't be the last time. Your first year, 2, 3, 4, your first couple of years coaching, don't expect to get paid. There's not going to be on a high school staff a paid position available for a man that's coached 0 years of high school football. For the most part, there are exceptions, but it doesn't even matter how good you were. If you haven't coached high school football, you probably are not going to get a paid position. So if I take myself as an example, 2 years. It was 2 years before 2 seasons I had to volunteer before I got my first paid opportunity. And I was in education. Now, you don't have to be a teacher, though. If you love it enough, there are aides. I have 2 good friends that one became a head basketball coach, one became eventually a head football coach at a high school, that were not teachers. They got into education another way. One man ran the in-school suspension room. Another man has worked as like a special ed or behavior disorder aide for many years, right? Because he loves serving a community through the school. He loves coaching, and that's what got him in. So if the fastest path in is to get into education. And when you're in a building, now you're right there. You get to know the guys quickly, and you can get an opportunity to coach. Now, that's not realistic for everyone. Let's say if I'm not a teacher, well, then the next thing is I go through the connections that I have. Do I know anyone, anywhere that's within driving distance of me that coaches? Do I know anyone, right? And you have to be willing probably to drive a little, right? You can't be as simple as, well, the team in my town doesn't need help, so I won't help. I mean, if you really want to get in, you have to be willing to reach out to and find your connections wherever it is, if it's in driving distance, and you can get there on the daily. So then that comes to my next point, and you draw a circle around your house, what's drivable, and you find all the high schools in there, and you email each and every head football coach. And you say, I am anxious to coach high school football, and I will do any position. I want to serve your program. Look at that. Humility. You have to assume, come in knowing they do not need your help. You are asking them for a favor. They don't need your help, and you want to serve the program. Now, this really comes down to how badly you want to coach. if you want to get involved enough, and again, the better the program, the deeper their staff is and the lower position you'll need to take. But even at a program in your area that hasn't been good, if you have no high school experience and you're not in education, you have to reach out and say, Coach, I'm looking to serve the program. I would like to get into coaching. Is there any way I can serve you guys this year? That's how I would do it. I wouldn't even say, I did this many years as a DB. I played this. I want to serve the program, and how could I serve you guys? The key is get your foot in the door somewhere. Become someone that they can rely on, and your opportunity to coach will come. But you got to know, you have to know there are no good spots available for you. You're just saying, I have to get in. I want to be willing to serve in some of whatever the lowest possible way is I could serve. I'm willing to do it. I want to get in. Now, once you ever get your foot in the door, learn. That's where Chief Pigskin comes into play, right? Like you join this team, you learn, you just learn. I used to call it just speaking the language. You want to, the more often you speak Spanish, the better you get at it. And the less often you speak it, the harder it is to recall a word when you need it, to be able to conjugate verbs when you need it, right? You want to be constantly speaking the language, so you're constantly learning. Now, there's a million resources online, but this happens to be a great one. You just make it part of your nightly routine. You pull up a video, you watch, you learn, you're listening to experts, guys that have done this successfully, and you're just starting to bank all this knowledge. And then the other thing, I don't want to miss this, is you learn from the staff that you're on. Have a notebook. Maybe it's on your computer, maybe it's actual pen and paper, and you're writing down the things that you're picking up. How do they manage things? Of course, you're going to write down offensive, defensive stuff, but what other things are you learning? I know one place I went as an assistant. I had been a head coach for years, and then I became an assistant at a successful program, and I wanted to know, what are they doing that's different than me? And one of my biggest takeaways was that nothing changed in their program. And that was something that, all the way down to like kids' positions, very consistent from freshman through senior year, as consistent as they could be, that kids didn't even change positions. Right? So it went beyond that. But those are, I'm looking desperately for things that I can learn. What will I know in 3 years that I didn't know 3 years ago, right? So I want to be learning all the time through video, through my life experiences. Be a learner now that my foot is in the door. This is the part that I think that a staff really is going to decide whether they want you or not, is you have to be a joy, be fun to be around. They really just want to know, do they like being around you? If they like being around you, you've got a really good chance of sticking and getting a good position eventually, a position. Let's just say a position. It really just comes down to, do they want to be around you? They're going to want to be around you if you're a humble person. You're listening, right? You're laughing at their jokes. It's about them. You reflect them. If you come in and you constantly want to speak, or you're sad, or you want to have a voice, it's going to turn people away. At least, again, I won't say that's not possible. I'll just say that your odds go down of sticking if you're not a joy to be around. And again, I say that a lot, don't I? Say again. It comes down to, you've said you want to get in to the business. So I am simply giving you suggestions to get in and stay in. You want to avoid getting in at one place, finding the 3 things you don't like about it and going to the next one, because there will be 3 things you don't like about each place. All right. Every school has its flaws and things that you don't have to deal with at other schools, you will have to deal at the next school. All right, so you just keep those things in mind. But be a joy. Be someone that's fun to be around, and they'll keep you around. And then be a servant. Serve, man. How can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And that comes down to the kids at practice. I'm setting up drills. I'm not bossing people around. And just serve. Right? Those words, how can I help, are so powerful. I used to tell my assistants that 10 years ago at Champaign Central. The best thing you can do is walk into a situation, instead of standing there and watching, you could say, Coach, how could I help? What could I do? Look for ways to serve, and you'll do this in a hurry. It can go fast. If you're a learning junkie, you're humble, you're fun to be around, and you're a servant, and you sweat. You are willing to sweat, right? When they see you and they see a workhorse, you're there on time, you're there early, you're willing to do this, because it's like any job. It's not every day is sunshine and butterflies. I mean, it's parts of it that are hard. So when you earn their respect and you're in, you could move up. And once you're in, whether you're in education or not, you can start getting meaningful roles. They can come to you. And then eventually, the day will come when they ask your opinion. And that is a really exciting day. Just know it could take a long time, literally years, before they truly ask your opinion, outside of just like a token, we're going around the circle, everybody gets to say something brief. But the day will come where they actually ask you, what do you think, or what would you do here? Right? So you want to be ready for that day. So if you want to get in, these are my suggestions for how to get in. But I do think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. You get in and it becomes a part of your life until you become an old man and you can't coach anymore. You know, I'm getting to look like an old man, and I think I still have 20 years left. You could coach for a long stinking time. And a good coaches, they're hard to find. So if you could get in, stay the course, be patient, get latched onto a staff, find people to learn from, man, you could turn into a career coach, and it could be one of the biggest blessings of your life.